My name is Allison, and I am beginning the process of designing and building my dream kitchen garden. I live in Gardening Zone 8A, and this is what our garden looks like right now. To more easily create a garden design, I decided to use a game called Planet Zoo. I'm in sandbox mode right now, and instead of building habitats, I've built what sort of looks like our yard. For scale, I'm using this classic fence lawn border as a ruler. It's 2 meters long, so each segment of this fence is 4.4 inches long. The layout I settled on will be to keep the idea of a brick-lined bed along the house, only I will have to redo it since the bricks are just loosely stacked without mortar right now. In the center of my garden, I want to have 2 tall 8-foot by 4-foot raised beds. These will be metal, they'll be 29 inches tall, super ergonomic. As a focal point, I'll have a wooden arbor that will also be a trellis, and then on either side of the arbor, there'll be 2 additional brick-lined beds for planting. And these will be much lower in height than the raised bed, maybe a foot or 2 in height. So in this game, I'm able to walk through this design and I'm able to get an idea of what it might be like in real life. Basically, I want to feel completely surrounded by plants. I want like a cozy spot that will be fun to garden in. And I think this accomplishes that, in my opinion. The Planet Zoo plant selection is mainly meant for animal habitats, so what's shown here is not the actual plant layout. It does give the cottagey feel that I want to have, though. I'll be planting a combination of vegetables, fruits, herbs, flowers, and shrubs. I want it all in this area. And visualizing this really inspires me to get to work. I plan to tackle this project in phases. First, in order to make sure that I have some place to grow plants in the spring, I'm going to set up to 2 raised beds in the center. So, back to reality. I've ordered the 2 metal raised beds that take up the central space of the garden. While it was tedious to assemble these, I realized that this will probably be the easiest part of my garden build project. I filled up the bottom of each bed with mostly native materials and then topped them off with a good quality potting soil mix. I also set up each bed with drip irrigation in time for spring. Now, to deal with the pre-existing brick-lined bed, the loosely stacked bricks were unstable and the wall didn't exactly run parallel to the house. Thankfully, we have a stockpile of old bricks on the property that can be used for this project. Since I plan to build a proper brick retaining wall with mortar, each brick needed to be cleaned well before we could use it. Not recorded, but after removing the old bricks, I first spread a thick layer of paver base and then a layer of paver sand as a foundation for the bricks. This was all tamped down and leveled. So one brick at a time, this new wall is being built. This is my first time laying bricks, and I'm quite a novice. That, combined with the April rain showers, is making this take quite a long time. But I would say that in the end, this wall will look rustic, but at least it is level and you can stand on it. It's structurally sound. Along the bottom of the brick wall, several gaps were included to hopefully allow for drainage. And at this point, I'm a couple weeks away from being done with this first brick bed, and the design is starting to come to life. In another part of the garden, there is another brick wall that needs a different kind of solution. This is the 61-foot long, 3-foot tall retaining wall. For safety and for visual interest, I want to create a hedge along the top of this wall. Now, I don't mind waiting for results, and I do want to be frugal, so I'm going to try my luck with propagation. We already have some boxwoods growing in our garden. These are a dwarf variety. I don't know the exact name, but these only grow to a couple feet tall. So I'm hoping that since this is a limited sized shrub, it won't create any kind of structural integrity issues with the retaining wall, or at least I hope. It's springtime and there's plenty of new growth on these boxwoods. I want a dense hedge along the wall, so I'll do about 20-inch spacing between plants. I think that I'll need about 37 healthy boxwood shrubs to create the hedge I want. Today I collected 30 cuttings, and I will have to start a few more batches in the coming weeks. I am dipping each cutting into rooting powder before planting, and these trays will be covered and kept damp on a sunny windowsill. This week I wanted to recreate one of my favorite springtime desserts, carrot cake. This experimental recipe is what I would call a sourdough carrot sweetbread. I at first set out to make carrot cake, but as it turns out, this really does have more of the consistency of like a banana bread or a muffin than a cake. I think this might be because of the sourdough. One thing that I did to make this recipe extra special was to brown the butter. I don't often take this step when I'm baking, but it's Easter week and I decided that it would be fun to make something a little bit more fancy. I melted the butter until it turned a nice amber color and it had like a nutty scent to it. The carrot peels for this recipe were actually the first official kitchen scraps for our new compost pile. I think that browning the butter added a lot of depth of flavor, and the sourdough goes well with the cream cheese. With it being springtime, I'm spending a lot more time outside, and I find myself wanting to bring a little bit of the life indoors as well. So I want to create a bouquet centerpiece for the dining table. The only problem here is that one of our indoor cats, Lily, is absolutely obsessed with nibbling on any type of plant life. So I'm going to be hunting for some non-toxic plant options. I first found this wildflower called lyre-leaf sage. It's native to our area and has these dainty little pale violet blooms. We have another type of salvia in the yard, and this is a much darker purple. I planted it from seed a couple years ago, and it keeps reseeding and blooms all season long. And then to add a little bit more structure to this bouquet, I realized that rosemary would be perfect. This is the first time that I've used rosemary in a bouquet, and I'll definitely be doing it again. I love the scent, and while it's near the kitchen, I could always take a little snip of it for a recipe. The salvia immediately began to flop when I was creating the arrangement, but thankfully everything livened up by the next morning after it hydrated. And I think Lily might approve.